The Vedic Astrology podcast is brought to you by a dedicated and intimate community of patrons. Perhaps you'd like to join us where we meet every week to check in and talk astrology, and where we have monthly gatherings to deep dive into our personal charts, to study Vedic astrology, and to apply and harness transits. Join us today, and thanks for listening to the Vedic Astrology podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Vedic Astrology podcast. My name is Fiona Marks, and this is an extra treat episode for me because I am joined once again by friend of the show, Pratyush Bhattacharya. I enjoyed Pratyush's new book, Volume 2 of Decoding Zodiac, so much that I asked if we could have a special, almost offline conversation about any topic from the book. And Pratyush suggested to me an exploration of the persona and the shadow, what this axis, the 6th house and the 12th house, is all about. Is this one of your current contemplations, Pratyush, about the 12th house?
Absolutely, yeah. I think at present, this is the idea that I'm really grappling with in my mind, and it's in a state of revelation right now. The more I'm understanding the importance of it and understanding how it shapes the life, it's blowing my mind, to be honest. I'm being mind blown right now, and I have been for several months with this idea. That's why I want to talk about it.
That's what we're for, Pratyush. Anytime you want to talk about what is blowing your mind, I think it will be of interest to all of us. So, yeah, outline the context of this for us.
Okay. I think I'll start with a metaphor because that gives a better picture. Imagine a nice house with all the amenities. It's a dream house. Everything's exactly as you want it to be. And even the price is affordable in this economy. So, you get into the house, there's one tiny problem. There's the toilet. It becomes immediately uninhabitable, right? No matter how good the house is otherwise. But why is it so? It's because any organic system, anything that lives, requires things to be taken in and then to be expelled. Lives are not things, lives are processes. A process involves things coming in and things going out. So if you do not have a way of expelling stuff that no longer fits your current needs, you will no longer remain viable as a life form, just like the house. And I think this core idea that experiences must come in, do its thing, and then go out. This is a healthy life in its core. If this stops and gets disrupted in some way, you're no longer a healthy life. And that is where I think the 6th and the 12th house, this axis, 6-12 axis, comes into the picture.
I can relate to that. My photos on my phone are reminding me that it's 10 years since I discovered Marie Kondo, a Japanese lady who inspired a lot of people to clear clutter out of their house. And it's similar to the toilet, that we have a lot of ways of bringing in material goods into our home. There's the supermarket, there's the mall, there's the gifts we get from people. We're always bringing things into our home, but most of us do not have a regular channel of taking things out of the home. We take, like you say, the organic waste, the trash goes out and is taken away, but all of those material goods accumulate, and they can have sentimental value and they can have guilt. I can't throw that out because so-and-so, whatever. And we can end up living in these houses and homes where our belongings, our material goods are in fact cluttering our very way that we feel about ourselves. And of course, in extreme cases, pathological cases, we do have people who will hoard everything to the point that they almost can't live in their own home. So yes, I am with you on this metaphor, the importance of things leaving.
I loved the idea of making it a protocol of cleaning your house. I think what it forces you to do is it's not about cleaning, but it's about you have to come to terms with a rule of letting go when you're cleaning. That, okay, here's my rule that I'm going to use to decide what to let go of. That is not an external thing. You're programming yourself in a certain way, and that programming is going to reflect in everything you do once you start living with these rules. Maybe you make the rule that, well, if there's anything in my house that I haven't used in 3 years, I'm going to throw it out. Without knowing, that's going to reprogram your subconscious. They're going to apply that to even people very soon, to experiences, to activities they do. If it has been still for more than 3 years, if it has been useless for more than 3 years, it has to go. That is something that I actually use as remedy for 12th house issues. I ask people to clean up their stuff, and I don't even start with their house. That's a big deal. I tell them, go into your phone's photo gallery, clean it up. Such a difficult thing to do, right?
Totally.
You just look at where people live most of the time, which can be their phone, can be their computer, and I ask them to clean it up. Even thinking of it can make people feel, oh my God, I want to do it. That state, I don't want to do it, is the loss that is generally associated with the 12th house. You are feeling at a loss. Because if you go in there, you have to figure out what to let go. But you do not want to let go of things because they haven't moved on from the past. And that's where the shadow lives. The past is the shadow. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start with the general instruction, because it's very easy to get ahead of myself for me. Okay, so here's what I think of 12th. Can just continue the metaphor here? Is that as we live through life, we're born and then you grow up, we live through life. If you think about it, our lives happen in phases. For example, you're born in a certain place, you go to a certain school. That's probably your first environment after your family. When you're just in your family, you're a little kid, maybe 3-4 years old, you're not yet going to a school. Of course, you have certain habits that define your day-to-day life. But then your school starts. Your habits have to change. Maybe before going to school, you could wake up whenever you wanted. School starts, waking up has to happen at 6 a.m. every morning. A new habit has to be introduced now. Now, here's the interesting part. Habits are programmed in the nervous system. It literally alters how our brain maps to itself. Once you get into a certain habit, it can happen that a remnant of the previous habit is still there. For instance, you going to this school, and maybe you go to this school for 10, 12 years. You're a graduate student now, you're going to college. But the habit of waking up at 6 a.m. didn't leave you. You don't need that. At college, maybe you can wake up later. You have that leeway, but just become used to it. This, what you are used to, but doesn't serve any purpose at present, is literally a junk from the past you're keeping, right? That habit is now stored in your subconscious, because if you do not pay attention to it for a long time, just like garbage in your home, eventually you'll forget it's there, and that's a real problem. Keeping it's not the problem, it's the fact you've forgotten it's there. So that habit is there. If you keep living with this habit, 10 years down the line, if somebody asks you, hey, why do you wake up at 6 a.m.? You don't have an answer to it because you've forgotten. But the habit is alive. You don't know anymore why you do it. This is a 12th house thing. This is a shadow. Now, this is a very simple habit. It won't harm you in any way. But other habits can. For example, maybe during your school life, you were bullied, let's say, among other things. Maybe you found education to be difficult for whatever reason. Maybe the teachers are not that good. Maybe you're not that healthy. Whatever reason, you didn't find education an enjoying process at that time. If that habit of associating difficulty with education, that mapping, keeps on living in your mind, throughout the course of your life, you will find anything to do with education to be difficult without even actually giving it a chance. So you are literally living in the past about things that are not happening in the past. This is a garbage that's accumulated and now it's clogging the toilet. What you have not allowed to let go in the past is now stopping you to let things into your life. So this is where the 12th house becomes a problem. It means you're holding on to your past in some capacity without knowing. That's the critical part. You are telling yourself, no, I'm perfectly in present. I'm not holding on to anything. But you are. You are denying to yourself, you're repressing what you have been holding on to, because what you are holding on to are always unresolved things. Things that did not finish its loop in your nervous system. For instance, you had a difficult education, but nobody ever let you vocalize that it's difficult, I can't do this thing. You could never vocalize that pain. The nervous system could not finish the loop of grieving that suffering. So that the need to grieve that is still there. And as long as the need is there in the present, you won't be able to let go of the idea that education was difficult for me. It's not the memory you're struggling with. The memory is not the thing that you're holding on to. It's the unresolved emotional grief that hasn't been addressed. So the 12th house is a repository where as you live through life, years after years, more things like this keep accumulating, right? All those things are deposited there. Essentially, the older you are, the more data you have in the 12th house, the deeper it is. It requires periodic cleansing. Now, there's whole another element. We cannot talk about the 12th house without bringing in the 6th house. What's happening is this: no matter which environment you're growing up, you will realize soon, explicitly or implicitly, that certain parts of you are welcome here. When we express other needs, certain needs that have no place to go, you'd realize these needs should be hidden. For instance, if you go back to this school analogy, maybe you're growing up in an environment where everybody is good in education. Your family, everybody is good at, they excel in this stuff. Like, the idea of one can struggle with basic education doesn't exist. So you get the implicit message: if I express this part of me, then I don't belong here. It has no place to go. So you hide it. What you hide goes in the dark and becomes the shadows. But that also means you also know what to show. If you hide the darkness, the only thing remains is the light. That's your persona, which actually means the mask. But it's not really a mask. It is a genuine part of yourself. It's only an incomplete part that you know for certain will bring you approval. The 6th house is the motivation to build a persona. The 12th is the motivation to hide the shadow. So essentially, it's splitting you into two. As we grow up, we're all split into two. Here's the light and here's the shadow. The truth is, though, neither can exist in vacuum. There is no shadow without the light. But the way our life evolves, especially given we're very social creatures, we have to figure out a way of expressing only those parts that people might like and hide those parts that people won't approve, that we think they won't approve. Now, as the persona is forming, let's try to map it back to astrology to some extent. The 6th, as I discussed in the previous podcast, is that it's made of two components, a Purushartha and a Guna. So for the 6th house, the Purushartha is Artha and the Guna is Rajas. It's Rajas-Artha. So if you put it together, it means this: the 6th is the motivation to prove your worth to your partners. That's it. So if you're working at a job, of course they're paying you. Why are they paying you? They will keep paying you if you keep proving useful to them by doing your job. That's a 6th house activity. But think about it, what does it mean? The job requires certain performance. Anything that doesn't fit into it, anything that says I can't perform today, has to be hidden. If you show it too much, which is a shadow, then they say you are no longer suitable for this job, goodbye. So the 6th demands perfect performance so that you can fit in because you're useful. Now, the 12th, on the other hand, is Sattva-Moksha. It's about having contentment with your overall status of life. Now, when I say life, I don't mean what's happening right now, because we do not create our story of life based on the present. If we did that, we'd all be enlightened. We do that based on the past. That maybe throughout your past, you have never been able to make friends, let's say. So right now you're telling yourself, I am a lonely person, I don't make friends. But when you say, I don't make friends well, you're stating something about the present based on the past. Essentially, you're using statistics. Statistically, I haven't been able to make friends in the past, so therefore I don't make friends in the present and I will not be able to make friends in the future. So the 12th house motivation is to clean up the story, make the story objective. Are you really that way? And this story is not what that defines you. It tells you who you have been, not who you are or who you will be. So the 12th motivation is to accept, here is my life at present, not in the past. And if you look at your life at present, yeah, it may have certain issues, but it will be far more easy to accept it because you know the present changes every moment. Here it is now, tomorrow it will be different. The difficulty with the 12th house is that it tends to make you believe that your life will not going to change. What has happened before is going to keep on happening. And the 6-12 axis, there's a reason this is the only axis, house axis, where both houses are Dusthanas. Which means no matter which way you step, it will be difficult. Dusthanas are designed to take things away from you so that you can see your reality with clarity. The 6 takes your energy away through performance, relentless performance to prove your worth. And the 12 takes your sanity away. It takes your present away from you. It will make you live in the past. But again, what happens if these are healthy? If these are healthy, you find reasonable ways to address your repressed needs from the past and integrate them into your present. You don't let your performance define you. You see that your performance is what makes you valuable to others. But you realize in order to keep on being valuable, I have to allow myself to express what have been repressed. This is the integration that Jung called individuation. He said that when you integrate the shadow with the persona, this will become truly a whole person. And this is no different than spiritual growth. This is spiritual growth. Individuation means that you are truly an authentic whole being, that you're no longer splitting yourself in order to fit in. You are no longer betraying yourself by splitting yourself into two, just to keep on surviving. And if you look at in real life, the people who are actually even somewhat individuated, they have a magnetic presence. Because everybody has that need to be individuated. So when you see somebody, they see something that really pulls them. So this is a very foundational idea of the 6th and 12th axis.
The image was coming to mind that the 6th and the 12th, in some ways the 6th is associated with health and with digestion. And I was thinking about how the 12th is emptying and how important it is when you eat and digest is that you also need to be able to expel waste. As I was having that thought, and you said, well, if you can get these to work together, that's individuation. I was thinking about how maybe many of us experience that journey of health where we begin to learn that the purpose of digestion is to support our health. And so it becomes very integrated. What we put into our mouth, how we digest it and how it leaves our body becomes one integrated process. Whereas perhaps when we're young, it does become these two separate, completely unrelated things, which is yum, I like this, and I eat this. So it's my taste buds or my mind or something that chooses. And then there's some mysterious things happen. And then there's all these problems with how my digestion comes out of my body. And that the journey to health from an Ayurvedic point of view is really linking those 6 tastes and the digestion, the awareness of that and the beautiful evacuation of it as well.
If you look at our body, we are born few kilograms of weight and now you're this big. Where does the extra mass came from? These are literal accumulation. Our body lives in the 12th house. This is an accumulation of everything that we put into our mouth. So this is how we say that you are what you eat. And it's so true. And what you eat determines the health of your body. And from the body comes your identity, which is the first house. The beautiful part is the 12th house feeds the first house. This very fundamental building block of earth on which we're predicated our whole life. So the first house is not the beginning. The beginning happens in the 12th. The process of birth is an evacuation, it's an expelling. And the process of birth is a near-death experience for everybody. You can actually die there. So your life starts with an evacuation where you might die. If you succeed in that, you're born. Doesn't that mean that in order to be reborn, you have to keep doing that? Think of how snakes shed their skin. It's the same principle. They become so vulnerable when they're shedding skin. But if they don't shed, they will die in confinement. They have to shed it. And I think 12th house is a very good way of doing that. This is the 12th house goal. It's a motivation to keep shedding yourself, to give us a room to grow. It's consciously killing a part of you that no longer serves you.
That I was having while you were speaking about health, that cancer cells are my own cells that have lost that ability to die. Whatever trigger has turned off there. And so now they're just accumulating and they're starting to convert the cells around them and the cells around them. And everybody's deciding not to die. or has forgotten how to die. And yet this will kill the system that it's living in. If we forget how to die, we're going to kill the body. Could people who want to appear young for their whole life, who want to extend their life with these extreme measures, if we have a fear of the 12th house, we're going against the current of nature.
Eventually, we won't be able to sustain it. The cost will keep going and going up. And the more time is spent going upstream, the faster it will fall downstream. And that brings to the idea that the Karaka of the 6th, 12th house, both Saturn, for good reason. It tells you you are limited here. You have to let these things go when the time comes. Let me talk about a little bit in the context of the 12th house. There are so many directions we can go from here. I think let's talk about something that's more relatable, because this is a bit wishy-washy. What does it look like if you have an afflicted 12th house? If your 12th house is working well, number one is this: you will be very easily triggered. This number one marker is that you'll be extremely sensitive to criticism, and at the same time, you will be very easy to manipulate. It's because you don't see this. That's the beauty of 12th house. If you accumulate garbage in your house and keep living there, at some point they don't look like garbage to you. But if somebody even passes by your house, they can smell it. So if you're holding a lot in your 12th house from your past, you signal that, oh, I'm not in the present. I'm vulnerable. My house is full of crap. So then people who are strong enough, who are clean enough, and if their intentions are not that friendly, they can sense that vulnerability, that you're already carrying burdens of the past. Therefore, you cannot be present. Let's take advantage of that. So, one thing you'll see that people who are psychologically fragile, who can very easily be hurt, they have a problem in the 12th house. This is where the 12th house, all the usual connotations, isolation, that comes in the picture. Because if you're a person who very easily gets hurt with people in the real world, you will, of course, isolate yourself. And if you still try to push through, this hurt will keep accumulating, will keep hitting the nervous system, which is going to throw your endocrine system completely out of whack. Then you will actually physically fall sick and then get isolated in the hospital. So you get isolated anyway. You either do it by choice, which then maybe you are doing shadow work at your home. Maybe you are simply thinking about what you've been going through. That's conscious isolation, which is the healthy total motivation. But people with afflicted 12, they don't do that. They are very scared of spending time alone. They don't like boredom, because boredom absolutely kicks you into the 12th house. They'll always want to keep on performing, because they define their life based on the 6th house. And you see this, if you send them on a vacation, they won't like it. Vacation feels like prison to them. That's a marker your 12th is not in good shape. One who is absolutely comfortable in boredom, like they like to be simply on their own, not doing anything. They're individuated. So I remember I read a quote where Buddha said that somebody asked him, you keep doing all these things to people, you keep talking to them, you keep teaching. Don't you feel like taking a break? He said, yeah, when I take a break, I watch a bamboo shoot grow. But bamboo shoots take 12 years to grow. So you're not watching anything. You don't need entertainment. You don't need to take a break because you're not broken. So that's so beautiful to me, that the whole idea of taking a break exists for ordinary people like us. And enlightened beings are so individuated, they are not broken, they have no cracks. So that's the idea. So if we have the opposite direction, let's say you are very much focused in the 12th, but not so much in the 6th, you have a different problem now. What's happening is that you're so enamored about your past. Constantly think this thing happened 10 years ago and how that has been defining me right now. I had an accident 5 years ago, that's why my knee hurts today, that's why I cannot run, that's why I cannot drive a vehicle, that's why I don't have a job. You are busy rationalizing your present based on the difficulties of the past. So even though you can't run, but you can walk, you can't drive, you can take a bus. You're not even trying to perform anymore because you've decided to give up on yourself. That's when you see these people who are like, nothing's going to happen to me because my life is so broken. I know I cannot fix it. That's the issue. You're so much identified with the 12th house that you no longer want to walk into the 6th. The other spectrum is you're too performative. You never want to stop. You're running from the 12th house. So these two extremes can possibly exist. And this is the primer, I would say, about the 6th and 12th axis without bringing in the Rashi set. That's when the real fun begins. This is just them in a vacuum. That we go through this process, and it's our, you could say, existential responsibility to be able to consciously step into the 12th, looking at, okay, what have been accumulating? What do I need to let go in terms of habits and beliefs and narratives that doesn't serve me anymore? This is the core axis.
I think one of the things I'm really getting from what you're saying is that to manifest the present life that we need, the incubator is the 12th house. It's somehow setting the reference of what we can become.
It holds you back if it's not working well. A very beautiful thing about the 6th house is that performance cannot happen in the past or future.
Present.
It's always present. And the 12th, accumulation cannot happen in the present. Your phone gallery is full, not of pictures you're taking now. You have taken. Past is baked into the 12th. So ultimately, you're making a deal between present and the past. Will you be allowing your present to happen? Because present is supposed to happen anyway. The question is, are you allowing it to enter you by letting go of the past? In is the whole Zen idea of you have to empty your cup to be able to be filling it again. The 12th is your full cup. It can be full or empty depending on you if you're stepping into it. That's about it. I would say, I think the biggest takeaway for me of the 12th house is that if you can only step into a 12th house consciously, if you make only that practice in your whole life, you would be the most spiritually evolved person among everybody you know. In a very realistic sense, not in a where I have visions and stuff. You would know that you're content with your life. I think that's the greatest takeaway for me, that I know if I can talk about a person's ascendant template and show them how their 12 maps to a given Rashi, I'm handing them a protocol for their own version of spirituality. This is your spirituality.
We've got our homework, everyone. Turn to chapter 18, go look up your ascendant template, go look up the 12th house. What are some, you were talking about 12th house practices that people can try out. One is dealing with their phone gallery, delete some photos. What is some other things?
I'd say it starts much simpler. This can be a fun thing. There are several layers you can go, because we have to understand that nobody likes to go into the 12th house. Nobody likes cleaning their home. So you have to start really small and make it as gamified as possible. This is where a person's temperament comes from the picture, because not everybody's 12th house protocols can be the same. But if I generalize it, the goal would be to consciously acknowledge what has happened in the past. Now, how do you do that? For people who like to think a little bit more, who are not very physical, for them, my idea would be try writing an autobiography. And how do you do that? You think of your life, how many years you have lived, simply break that into 3 chapters. Not by time, by significant epochs of your life. Then take each of those 3 chapters and break them into 3 more sub-chapters. So now you have 9 chapters in your life. Try filling them out with 1 paragraph each. That's it. This process forces you to look into your past and create a coherent narrative. It's a very good beginning. And I'll say, okay, now your job is to keep refining and add more detail to it. Take whichever chapter you like among these 9 and break it into 2 more. Fill them out. When you're satisfied, break them into 2 more. You are increasing the resolution of your past as you keep writing it. But again, as you can see, this is not for somebody who's not into writing and stuff. It's a certain kind of engagement has to be there. For them, my idea is using conscious pause. Notice what are the habits that you do daily simply because of comfort. This could be a lot of things. For example, maybe when you come home, you set your air conditioner at a particular temperature. You get in, you pick up the remote and tuck, you do that. All I'm asking is that before you do that, pause for 30 seconds. Nothing, just pause for 30 seconds. And notice the discomfort that arises in the body. Don't try to analyze it, simply notice it. After a few days, it will see the discomfort is evolving. So it will tell you, oh, I'm doing this thing because I want to feel this way. a little light has been shed into your 12th house. And one of the very common coping mechanism people have is food. Food is not sustenance for most of us. That's not true. I mean, not for me, as I will speak for everybody, but not for me. I think it's not just sustenance for a lot of people as well. There's a strong element of comfort and pleasure to food. We look forward to a good meal at the end of the day. Maybe we can't stand a cold meal after work. A cold meal is just as nutritious as a warm meal. What's the problem with it? The problem is that it doesn't give you the same oxytocin and serotonin boost in your mind. It doesn't let you switch from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic system. So, before eating, pause for 30 seconds. The more you want to eat the meal, pause more. Make it one. You don't do it more than 1 minute. Simply pause. Literally look at the food. Feel the craving within and sit with it. And don't do anything, don't rationalize. Just, okay, here's the craving that I have for this food. And notice the feeling, because often you might go, oh, I crave for this food. I don't feel good about it. I should not eat this thing. That guilt that you have is what actually pulling you towards this food. But at first, simply notice these things. Pausing is something everybody can do throughout the day. If you take 30 seconds pauses 10 times, you're losing only a few minutes. You can do that. And the final thing which I would ask people to do is allocate a time throughout your day for boredom. This is a time when you plan to be bored. Do literally nothing. Sit down, stand up, completely up to you. The only goal is you won't move at this time. Sitting is a good option for that reason. You sit. Only goal is to keep on breathing and don't move a muscle. Notice where you are feeling the discomfort. That's it. If you keep these 3 practices up, they will not remain the same. The discomfort you feel the first day will keep evolving. Because the more you step into the 12th, the more you become capable of looking into it. If you think, oh, I love doing this, one thing is that you have certainly issues with the 12th. That's number one, that something's accumulated there, but you feel this is giving me comfort. You should not do this. This is supposed to make you uncomfortable. So you need to get out and get a job.
To get up early and do the same thing every day.
The 6th, it's waiting to be the past. It's going to go in the opposite direction. You said, okay, you have performed it, move to set. Because it's like, no matter how you perform, eventually you have to vacate the stage. Performances have to end at some point, but cleansing yourself never ends. I think that's the way I would think about it. And what's fascinating to me is that both of these places are in the twilight zones, right? They're not in the day or the night, they're twilight, which means they're permanent places of transition. You will never design to feel stable there. These are supposed to keep on transitioning. And this is what I think about. The 6th is the only house that's a Dusthana and a Upachaya. It's difficult, but it's going to grow. How interesting is that? So it's a difficult growth place. So you never find comfort there, but you find growth there. The 12th is different. It's just Dusthana, a pure Dusthana house. But you will find growth here. This is a place where you come to lose parts of, where you come to shed your skin. So you can grow. That's how I like to think about it.
Beautiful, Pratyush. Anything else that you want to share with us about the 6th and the 12th axis?
I would love to take this into one Rashi mapping because it feels it's incomplete. Again, pick your favorite ascendant.
Okay, so we've had Aquarius, which is my favorite. Let's have an opposite. Let's have a Libra, where 6 is 12 and 12 is 6.
Fantastic. Yeah, let's work with that. So the Libra ascendant, we see the mapping that the 12 goes to Virgo and the 6 goes to Pisces. What does that mean? Is that their persona is predicated upon the efficiency of the Pisces. And what they're repressing is the need to practice the skills of Virgo. Let's talk about the axis of Virgo and Pisces for a moment. Virgo is the skill of filtering what you do not need. It's a skill of filtering out what's impure. Now, how do you determine what's impure? It depends on your goal. Whatever goal you set in life, everything that supports that goal is pure for you. If it doesn't, you throw it away. So, Virgo is a skill to keep on eliminating things and attachments that do not serve your goal. Libra ascendant people tend to repress this need. They don't filter. Question is, why not? The answer comes from the 6th Pisces. Because they believe if they keep on filtering out what they do not need, it's going to interfere with their persona in the 6th. What is the 6th? It's Pisces, right? It's about acceptance. Pisces says everything is one. So there is no need to discriminate between things. You should be equally open and accepting to every possibility. And if you meet a Libra Ascendant person in workplace or you see the one defining trait they have, they're extremely tolerant of diversity. But they're not doing it because that's who they are. They're doing it to prove their value to you as a partner. That's because the 6th map to Pisces. The Rashi 6 map to, you perform it. It's Rajas, you don't do it because that's who you are. You do it because you want something in return. What do you want? You want the 7th house. That's a different issue. But you are giving it because you want something in return. So for Libra Ascendant people, they tend to perform Pisces, which means they tend to express consciously, look, I'm so tolerant. I'm so open to diversity. I'm so open to people being different. I don't judge people. That's a very Libra way of looking at life. But the truth is, you don't need to judge people per se, but you do need to figure out what you will allow and not allow in your life. What can make your life's plan go haywire? Libra people don't plan meticulously enough because they feel meticulous planning makes their life too rigid, and that takes their spontaneity away, takes the spontaneity of accepting people being open to every experience away. Their struggle lies in figuring out a balance that, okay, I must repress my need to filter out what I think is not necessary for me. Libra is designed for balance. So balance lies in allowing things in and then at the same time letting things go that no longer fits your need. That's why it's a balance. And no wonder the Rashi symbolizes balance as Pisces and Virgo as the 6th and 12th. Because Pisces is the place, is the ocean where everything is dumped. And Virgo is the filter which filters everything out except the most purest thing. It's the balance of quality. What you allow enter your life and what you decide to eliminate. The Libra people need to be careful about if they're repressing their need to eliminate certain things, if it seems to be creating chaos in their life. Let's play out a small scenario of a Libra Ascendant person. So, you are a Libra Ascendant person who is hosting some guests today. Now, hosting is a very 6th house activity because there's an element of performance that people are going to come to your house, they're going to clean, they're going to cook, you're going to bring foods in. You are trying to make an impression. So they come into the house. Maybe few people come, maybe they say there will be 3 guests, but when they come, there are 5 people. Chaos. You don't like that. But if you're a Libra, you tell the phone, no, I like it. That's number 1 repression you did. You can at least acknowledge that you don't like the things are not going according to plan. That acknowledgement is the beginning of accepting a 12th Virgo. You said, okay, you know what? So what? 2 more people have come. They're just being social. I should accommodate myself, which is Libra by the way. I should compromise to accommodate them. You immediately pull up your phone and order some more food. And now you're tense if the food is going to come or not. So you're hosting them. And some of them say, you know what? Turn on the television. I want to see the game now. Whatever sport is going on. You don't like that. Maybe you don't like watching TV when you are talking to your guests. You want to engage in the conversation. But you're the Libra Ascendant host. You're like, I should be a good host. They're just, I should be accepting of it. People are different. Maybe they want to watch television. You see the problem that happens? What's happening is that maybe 2 hours after they're gone. And you're thinking, oh, I'm being a good host. But what's really happening is that you're feeling resentful. You're not happy with them. So, on the next day, maybe 2 months later, you know what? We loved your hosting. Because, of course, you were being very tolerant. Of course, they loved you. Because you were performing love. They loved you. They want to come back. Now we'll try to find some excuse, some lie, something to not have them over. But when you are in that mode, now you are the one who's deceiving them, right? This is the 12th house toxicity. Now you have become your shadow. You have engaged in a trait which you didn't have to. You could have been honest with them in the first place. Then you wouldn't have to step into your shadow. The individuation, you are here. I understand that You planned for 3. The whole thing was about 4 guests. You have 5, but I haven't planned for that. What can we do about it? Do you have a plan for that? So you are letting them be part of your home. Maybe they'll be uncomfortable, whatever. That has to be addressed in the moment. That discomfort has to be accepted. But if you did that and they still liked you, that means they truly like you, not your performance. So I think that would be a good example of this idea. I'm going to talk about one aspect as well, so that is very relatable to so many people. Most of your relationship problems happen because of an unfixed 12th house. Here's the core situation. We all know the 6th is a Rajas-Artha. It's very much important to be a good partner, be a desirable partner, because you're performing in a partnership, no matter what partnership it is. But the problem is, if it is a romantic partnership, it's not just a performance, it's also about proximity. It's intimacy. And as we know, if you have garbage in your house, maybe even a little bit, you can hide it from your living room. That's the 6th house, right? Guess no. But if you're somebody who can roam across all of your house, they will know where every single dirty piece of garbage is. So, if you don't clean things up, this is why your partner is designed to trigger you. Because they are simply pointing at what has always been there. That's one layer of it. However, there's another bigger layer that I think is really fascinating. You attract people based on your 12th house. For instance, let's say this Libra Ascendant person who has 12th Virgo, they're always repressing the need to practice Virgo. However, we are designed to practice all 12 rashes. That's a spontaneous, natural human expression. We have a need to filter things out. But because you're a Libra Ascendant person, your architecture doesn't allow it. So you keep repressing it. The more you repress, the more the hunger grows to experience Virgo, experience that cleanliness. You know what's going to happen? If you can't get to eat the food, you would love to stare at people who eat the same food every day. So you're going to find people who are absolutely nitpicky. They are very bold and open about their specific meticulous choices. And you would be deeply attracted to them. And you would confuse that attraction as love. What happening is that your body, your nervous system, is realizing you are not the kind of person to step into the 12th house on your own. So it's now trapping you with all kind of nice hormones to bring a person in, like an external expert in, to trigger it for you. The way you know that it's a 12th house relationship is how fast the attraction builds. If it's an exponential attraction, it's a 12th house thing. And maybe you find a person who's Karaka in Virgo, Ascendant in Virgo, many grahas in Virgo. To you, it feels like, wow, this is the thing that I've always been trying to do. This is the perfect match. This is my soulmate. This is my love at first sight. This is the person I cannot live without. This is your bodies are telling you that you cannot live without if you don't fix Virgo. This is so beautiful. It shows that the qualities they represent, this person represent, that you are being attracted to. You cannot survive if you don't cultivate these qualities within yourself. So what's going to happen? This person will step into your life. They are a Virgo kind of person. So when they see how much you have been slacking off in doing Virgo, they are going to be pointing it out left and right simply by their existence. They're not even trying it. It's a sheer contrast of it will painfully remind you, oh, I need to do this myself. And eventually this relationship may or may not exist. That's a different issue. But either way, you would have to come to the terms with the idea that unless I fix my Virgo, unless I step into this role, I can never possibly be equal to this person. So this trait is so interesting. That means if you find anybody at all whom you're magnetically attracted to that you cannot explain right now, most like the 12th house thing, look into the 12th Rashi of your chart and see somehow if you feel that person is expressing that quality. They're performing that skill? Yeah, you are. You're probably living in the 12th house. So they are signaling to you what you need to embody yourself. The food you don't eat, you would love watching other people eat.
In some ways, that can be just a beautiful partnership depending on what you have in that 12th house or or that partner that you pick, because in some ways partnerships do work from outsourcing the bits that you don't have that they're happy to do, and you do bits that you're happy to do that they don't like doing. It has a match. But I think what you're flagging there as well is that our need to outsource that for someone else to do it for us can bring in with that other person a whole host of other astrological or pathological things. So it can be benign, or it can be a backdoor way for things to get into your life that you would otherwise let go of easily and quickly. But because of that magnetic attraction to that one thing, you put up with behaviors.
See, the whole point of relationships are to show you what you're not developing. People are mirrors to it. If you're seeking connection from somebody, you're trying to experience the moon from them. And the moon is nothing but a giant reflector. So if you're really connected to somebody, essentially you're giving them permission to reflect you back. And when they reflect you back, you're going to see your whole self, specifically the part that you don't want to see. So that's the whole point. But yeah, I don't think, to be honest, that if you're really connected in a 6-12 way in a partnership and you have no other thing going on, only this, it's highly unsustainable, because essentially they're asking each other to bear something that they are supposed to bear. Everybody has their own 12th to bear. You can't carry somebody else's cross while you're bearing your own cross. This is the definition of trauma bond. They're trauma bonded. They really try to make it work. They probably have a very intense relationship that goes through cycles of high passion and then despair, passion and despair. Eventually, they'll be so tired, they just fall apart. It can happen that they will keep on loving each other. They fall apart knowing that we bring out the worst in each other. And this is a real thing that happens in the world all the time, that people know they're so attracted to each other. They make each other feel so good, but also they bring out the worst in each other. They cannot stand each other. This kind of very strong love-hate relationships have a connotation of the 12th house going on. That essentially, without knowing, using each other to fix the 12th house. Not going to work. And the sign is always the one. This is the telltale sign, that is the how exponential the attraction is. If it's a slow, deliberate building, it means you are a person who has achieved some level of individuation. So you know that I no longer repress my 12th. So if in order to fit in with this person to repress my 12th, I won't be there. So I better take very small steps. So if you build it slowly, chances are good. So I would say if you have a magnetic attraction, use the pause. Pause for 30 seconds. You need that. Maybe for 30 days, not even seconds. It might save you a lot of trouble down the line.
Good advice, Pratyush.
For the Libra Ascendant person, this is the only ascendant where that ascendant lord gets debilitated in the 12th. That means it's far more imperative for them to fix the 12th house. They are most prone to 12th house problems because they're too tolerant. So Libra is designed to fit in society. They're too compromising. They never want to stick up and speak for themselves. That goes against their grain. But if you're that kind of person, you're most likely to repress more than other people. So I think you pick up a very nice ascendant, which is a good case study, one of the best case study for this 6th-12th.
Good. Libra is always a handy one to go to, especially as you mentioned, Venus being the ascendant lord would be debilitated in the 12th house in Virgo. Anything else that you'd like to share with us about the persona and the shadow?
I would like to talk a little bit about shadow work, because this idea is very important, is that ultimately what you can do to walk into the 12th house, because I think it's important for everybody to be able to do that. Just know what's in there. And I would say the older you are, the more important it is, because the older you are, the more accumulation has happened. Because Saturn is the Karaka of the 12th, as Saturn was the Karaka of old age, the 12th becomes more important for you. You have to look into what's been accumulating, because it's going to make you very rigid and stuck in your ways if you don't do that. The reason we lose flexibility of mind with age is not because we're old. It's because we're carrying too much of the past. We have no more rooms in the present to fill with anything. So I'd say for everybody that look into your chart. It's very easy. Know your ascendant. The Rashi before that would be a 12th. Try to know about that Rashi. If you don't want to learn astrology, that's totally fine. But learn about that Rashi as much as you can, and try to notice everything that you feel like doing about the Rashi, but you choose not to. There's always an element of almost like a controversial attraction to the 12th Rashi that we have.
And we've only touched on 2 ascendants in this whole double episode. So please, everyone, do go out if you feel interested in or fascinated by some of the insights that Pratyush has brought over these couple of conversations. Please do go out, purchase volume 2 of Decoding Zodiac. And there are chapters we haven't even touched on in these two conversations. We're leaving that to whet your appetite. Pratyush, thank you for your generous time today. I've learned so much being with you. I can't wait to start to put it all into practice and allow it to deepen into my understanding as an astrologer. And I am looking forward to some long distant point in the future when volume 3 comes out, that we'll get to have this conversation again over a whole new view of this material. Thanks so much, Pratyush. And thanks everyone for staying on board with us. Hope you found it valuable, and I'm looking forward to being with you the next time we're together on the Vedic Astrology Podcast. Bye everyone.